Got it. And we're live. Cool.
Awesome.
Hey guys, this is Dr. Nathan Cashin, host of Exploring Chiropractic, and for the first time, we are doing a Facebook Live while recording a podcast episode. We'll see how it goes. If it goes horribly, I'm going to delete this and get rid of it. If it goes well, then, and I have to figure out how to, there we go, I got to show you on the Facebook Live too. If it goes well, then we'll leave it, but you can always find this as a podcast episode. So my guest today is Brooks Cadenhead, also known as @DestinationDC on Instagram.
Yeah.
And Brooks, I came across your Instagram account just after I posted, or I guess just before I posted my podcast episode about documenting your journey through school. And I saw yours, I was like, oh, this is cool. Not exactly what I was talking about, but like way ahead of what I was talking about. And so we got in touch, and you were willing to come on and talk about your journey into chiropractic. You're not quite there yet.
Right.
And then also why social media and all this stuff. So let's learn a little bit about you and why you're so into chiropractic when you're not even a chiropractor. So where are you from?
So I'm from Brazoria, Texas, a very, very small town south of Houston. But right now I live in College Station because I'm a junior kinesiology major at Texas A&M University.
Sweet. Yeah, I hear Texas A&M is a good school. So before we get to college and getting into chiropractic, when you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So I actually wanted to be a pediatrician. I always saw myself going into the medical field of some sort. I did not grow up going to a chiropractor until I saw a chiropractor for the first time my freshman year of college. So to me, being a doctor, who I looked up to was a pediatrician.
So what brought you to the chiropractor that freshman year?
Yeah, so I was actually in Mays Business School my freshman year, and I was planning on going into the corporate world, I was a marketing major, or planning on being one, and my mom called me and said that she hurt her back, and she started going to a chiropractor recommended by a friend, and that the more she was learning about it, the more she was learning that, it's not just about taking care of injuries, it's also preventative, and so she wanted to have me go and start seeing the doctors there. And so she had me an appointment ready for spring break. So when I got home from spring break, I went to the chiropractor, saw Dr. Hernandez, and timing just worked out. I was kind of second guessing my career path choice at that point. So I was already planning on talking to her about possibly changing majors or other career paths I wasn't sure about. And I'd been praying about it all of that semester. And both of the doctors at Coburn Chiropractic, which is where we went, were Aggies. So we hit it off really, really well. And I basically just started asking Dr. Hernandez, who was my chiropractor at the time, questions about how she got into what she was doing. And she wanted to see me again that next week. And so in between those two appointments, me and my mom talked about it. And my mom said, actually, every time I go in and see Dr. Coburn, because she saw the other doctor, the owner of the office, I see you in this field for some reason. And so it was kind of interesting. So the more I learned about it, the more I became interested. And I basically ended up reaching out to Dr. Coburn and asking if I could shadow. And they offered me a part-time job to work that summer. And that's how I fell in love with it.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. So that experience was good working in that clinic.
Yes.
Enough to make you want to choose that career path right then and there.
For sure. Yeah. So he actually allowed me to shadow every single person in the office, including the doctors, of course. So I got to work the front desk position mostly. And so I was making phone calls, interacting with patients, scheduling appointments, learning about the whole insurance process, which is crazy. And I also got to shadow the CAs as well and the exercise therapists. And so it was really, really awesome to get to see everybody's perspective and see how everything worked together as a whole to make the whole clinic work.
Yeah, that's going to give you a huge advantage. I still don't understand insurance. I'm not billing insurance.
Right.
I didn't, I'm a stay-at-home dad now, but when I was practicing, I didn't bill insurance. I was doing locum, so covering for other doctors, and they already had their billers. So
Gotcha.
And I just don't like playing that game. So,
Yeah.
but that you have an early exposure to it, that's going to be great to give you a leg up. Now, so you were already in college.
Yes.
How big of a decision was it for you then to change your major? You're
Right.
no longer a business major.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I was in the business school, like I said. I think the hardest part was leaving the business school. Mays has an incredible reputation, and going into it, I was super excited about graduating with a business degree. And so leaving that was the hardest part. But luckily, we have a great kinesiology program here at A&M. And so I have loved my classes that I'm in. My roommate is actually a kinesiology major as well. So we get to take a lot of the same classes together. It makes it that much more enjoyable. But yeah, I feel like I'm really growing towards learning about the field that I'm actually going to go into. Whereas with the business degree, I wasn't quite doing that as much, even though one day, hopefully I will have a business in chiropractic.
Right.
I definitely think the kines degree is going to prepare me for chiropractic school specifically.
Okay.
So the transition was pretty smooth.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that because the biggest challenge most doctors face is they didn't learn anything about business. More and more chiropractic schools are doing a better job about teaching the business side of things, but I still don't think there's any school that's doing a great job. And I know a few doctors who did a business degree. Actually, I think one had an MBA before doing chiropractic. And, you know,
That's awesome.
It's huge. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you know, when I started school and I had a few classmates who had never taken anatomy before, it just blew me away. I was like, how can you be here? But they did fine, right? So they didn't fail out of classes of anatomy or anything. They kept pace. I just think it's a huge challenge to do that. So
Yes.
So interesting. I mean, what was it about visiting the chiropractor for the first time and then working in the clinic that really was enough to make you change your career path? And
Totally.
not just say, okay, I actually really like healthcare. Why don't I do something healthcare rather than business? What was it that really made you pick chiropractic?
Yeah. So chiropractic to me, what intrigued me most about it was that it was a holistic way to include everybody from newborns to seniors in a holistic way. Like I said, I was really, really interested by the non-invasive approach. And specifically in that clinic, he sees a lot of families. And that was really interesting to me, like I said, because I wanted to be a pediatrician. So I'm definitely interested in helping kids. And so seeing whole families come in was just really incredible to me. And after shadowing the doctors and hearing about not only does chiropractic prevent certain things, but just the amazing things that it can actually treat that you wouldn't normally think about was also really interesting to me. Just all of it was I was experiencing this for the first time because the time in between when I first went to the chiropractor and that summer internship was pretty quick. So I felt like I was getting immersed in this whole new world that I had never been a part of because, like I said, I grew up not going to a chiropractor. So definitely just the holistic approach was very, very interesting to me.
Cool. One of the amazing things about chiropractic is there's so much that you can do, right? There's so many specialties, so many ways of practicing, and it's also one of the downfalls, right?
Yeah.
But no matter what your passion is, you can find a place for it in chiropractic.
Definitely.
So that's very cool. Well, we connected on Instagram because you have an amazing Instagram account that kind of documents your journey through undergrad to become a chiropractor. I love your handle as well, Destination DC. You know, Future DC is so many people already use that. And a good friend of mine, Brendan McCann, who's now practicing, had Hands in Training, which was also cool.
Oh, that's creative.
Yeah. But Destination DC is really cool.
Thank you.
So what started the Instagram account and all of that?
Yeah. So I started. Well, let me start from the beginning. So I basically was following all of these pre-PA, pre-med, pre-DO, pre-OD, pre-dental students that were supplying such wonderful information for other pre-insert the word students. And although that was interesting, I didn't want to go that route. So I started looking for pre-chiropractic student accounts, and I couldn't find any. I could find some that were already in chiropractic school, which we'll talk about later, but I couldn't find any that really showed the process from undergrad to chiropractic school, what the application process was like, how you decide on the school, what chiropractic is. And I'm also the president of the Texas A&M Chiropractic Society. And so I get to interact a lot with the schools now. And I get to talk to a lot of different students who ask me those questions. And so I started to just really see an opportunity there. And so I went after it. And my sister actually has a blog, and it's more fashion and lifestyle. And so I really got a lot of great tips for her, which we can go into in a little bit. But so I just really saw an opportunity where I could educate the public and also show students that this is an opportunity, a career path opportunity for them.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a big passion of mine, because I was the same. I was in undergrad. I became the president of the chiropractic club on campus, right? And interacted, with all the representatives from Palmer, from Parker, from Texas. I actually did. I've been thinking about releasing this on the podcast, but it's like 10 years old. But we had a career fair where, reps would come from all the colleges. And I think we had 6 or 7. There was Logan, there was Palmer, there was Western States, and a few others. And I got them all in the same room, and we did this. Wow. It turned into a debate. It wasn't meant to be a debate, right? But I've always had this interest in comparing and contrasting. Right? I don't think you get a clear picture of each school or whatever we're talking about if you don't compare and contrast. And you'll figure this out in radiology, right? When you get to radiology, if you don't compare and contrast different lesions, you're not really going to have a full understanding. I think I'll do a video on this soon, but so we did this panel, and it's really turned into a debate. But it was amazing, and I was like, there's no great resource for people who are thinking about chiropractic school. Yeah. On what are the prerequisites, what are the paths, what are the majors? Right? Yeah, exactly. I started my undergraduate as a biochem major because I thought I had no idea what I had to do, and then realized that's not my strength. So I went to IT, and then I thought, because I was like, I'm going to have to manage the computers in my future office anyways, and I enjoy technology, obviously. So, but then I didn't like programming, and I thought I was not doing well. But when I look at my transcripts, it was all A's and B's for IT, so I was like, why didn't I stay? Anyway, then I did exercise science, which is basically the same as kinesiology. Right. What I'm trying to say is I love what you're doing, and you're doing a much better job than I did.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what's the content that you put out there? I mean, I've kind of been following you for a while now, and I see a lot of behind the scenes kind of studying in coffee shops. But you're also talking about like chiropractic stuff. So what do you talk about, and how do you learn it all? Yeah, so that's a great question. So like I said, my vision for this account was not only to help prepare pre-chiropractic students, but it was also just to educate the public on what chiropractic is, to take what I was learning from other doctors shadowing and to educate, to share that knowledge that I was learning. Like I said in the podcast, I didn't grow up in this world. And so everything to me, I'm just trying to soak up and, release that to other people and let them, experience it as well. Even if they aren't interested necessarily in becoming a chiropractor, I still want people to understand the power of chiropractic because it's powerful and it's affected me. And to me, it's wellness. And I've shared that on the account before. And I just want other people to be able to experience optimal wellness as well. And I think they can achieve that through chiropractic. That's awesome. I mean, you're doing a better job than most chiropractors, right? This is, and man, there's some really good accounts. You're going to share a few later on. Yes. But so many chiropractors don't really understand how to educate using social media, and I'm trying to figure it out as well. In my local community, So I think it's great. One thing I always struggle with is this idea of imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm curious
Yeah.
if you've experienced that. I mean, because you're not a chiropractor, how dare you talk about chiropractic, right? So
Yes.
have you dealt with that? Have you gotten any negative feedback, and how do you approach that?
Yeah, so I haven't yet.
Good.
I am sure I will, honestly. I'm expecting it. But I try to be very transparent with my followers and just let them know I am not a doctor. And one thing I wanted to add previously that I forgot, so I'm glad you asked this question, is that all of my posts, especially the ones that have anything to do with the human body and really anything that is super chiropractic related, I always get them read over by my mentor,
Oh,
and
cool.
who's a
Okay.
doctor.
Yeah.
So that's something that I will share later on too, is that finding somebody who is brave enough and that you feel comfortable enough with to give you feedback on your posts and on things that you write up to share with the public, especially when they're educational. Get that read over by somebody, get that edited. And I'm super grateful to have my mentors who, will tell me, hey, that didn't come off quite right, or hey, you can't technically use that verbiage, or whatever it may be. It's, like I said, I'm trying to learn through this process as well. I don't claim to be an expert. And so yeah, I really try to do my research for sure. And most of my posts, especially when I have quotes in them or any type of facts, I always try to link whatever research I found that from, because I think that's crucial. I'm really interested in research. And when other posts don't have a research link, I'm kind of curious as to where they got that information.
Right.
So I always want to make sure that for those skeptical people, because they're out there, chiropractic is not widely accepted by every single person. We know this. For those skeptical people, I want them to be able to go find that research for themselves and do their own research as well, which is another thing I encourage my followers to do, is really do your own research. Ask those hard questions. And I get questions sometimes that I can't answer, so I try to direct them to somebody who can.
Good. That's amazing. That's so good. I was just kind of going through my mind today, like a local person I ran into who had been to a chiropractor, and this guy did I guess he does a PowerPoint presentation to all his new patients.
Oh, okay.
And this patient was saying, yeah, I didn't go back to him because none of his slides had references. And I was like, what?
Wow.
Because so many people will tell you, especially, chiropractors, chiropractic guru, like business coach type people. Patients don't care about the research. They just want to know if you can get them better. And there's truth to that to a large degree. But I'm a patient. I want to know the research, right? I want to know, what do you have to back up this claim? And
Same.
I'm finding more and more that there are people out there. There's plenty of people out there that want to know. They maybe don't want you to print out a peer-reviewed article and make them go read it, but they want to know, okay, where do you get that information from?
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's awesome that you're going down that road and sharing, and giving the tools to other people to learn more.
Exactly. I really always encourage, especially the members of the society, but even just my followers, like I said, especially if you're pre-chiropractic, if you're going to go that route, or even if you're a chiropractic student right now, or even a doctor, just to do your research, because like you said, there are plenty of people out there who do want to know that. They're going to have those tougher questions that you want to be able to back up with hard facts.
That's great. So who are your chiropractic inspirations? Are there any doctors that you really look up to that you kind of want to model yourself after in the future?
Yeah, so my biggest mentor is Dr. Billy Bob Coburn out of Coburn Chiropractic in Lake Jackson. He is actually that's the office that I worked for that summer.
Okay.
And yeah, so he runs a family clinic. He sees all sorts of cases. He's huge on patient education. So that's probably where I get most of my passion for that.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that I admire about him is he's passionate. And I just love that. And I'll talk about this, I guess, now, but one of the biggest ways for me to kind of remember my why is to shadow. And I love getting to go back home and shadow him, because he reminds me of why I'm doing this, why I'm spending hours on end studying, because he's so passionate about it. And he's not afraid to tell people about that. But another mentor of mine would be Dr. Hernandez, who was technically my first chiropractor before him. And so she was the one who really got me into this and really took time out of her busy day, meeting me on her lunch breaks when I would come home from College Station to invest time in me to talk about, the process of school and what her experiences at school and things like that. And she and her husband actually have a practice in Kyle, Texas. And so I don't get to see her as often, but we still text and keep in touch and whatnot.
That's cool.
So yeah, those two for sure.
That's great. Yeah, I love what you mentioned about starting with why. Obviously, that was one of the books I recommend for pre-chiropractic students.
Yeah.
And, as I was preparing to go into chiropractic school and shadowing doctors, and then even when I was in school and some chiropractors would come and present, one thing I would hear now and then is, you get into chiropractic school thinking you know what you want to do. And they would say, just stay open because your opinion's going to change. And again, there's some truth. I mean, you're going to learn so much. You're going to be exposed to new techniques. But I think it's so important to remember why you wanted to get into it in the first place. And if that is that, your first chiropractor that you went to, who had a particular practice style, hang on to that while you're in school. Like, don't let go of that. Learn other things, but don't, just don't let it go, because oftentimes what happens, and this happened to me, is there may be a particular technique that you were exposed to, and it was so cool, so amazing, and so you decided, I want to do this. And then as you're going through school and you're learning more about the research, you're going to realize that technique doesn't have much backing it up. But, that doesn't mean you got to let it all go and just, So I think that's great that you've got those mentors and those inspirations to kind of keep coming back to and keep reminding you why you want to do this.
Definitely.
Now, as you share a lot about getting into chiropractic school and all of this, what are some of the biggest obstacles you've come into as you prepare to apply and pick a school?
Yeah. So I get asked this a lot, like I said, by the members. And the biggest thing that I always try to tell them, the biggest obstacle that we all seem to have faced at that point in time is, which school do I go to, right? How do I figure that out? They're all, so different. And so the biggest piece of advice I would say, how I overcame that obstacle, was going to visit those schools. And if not going to visit those schools, getting in contact with those advisors, because those admissions counselors are experts on their schools. They're experts on the culture of those schools, what they teach, what they don't teach. They're the ones you want to ask those hard questions to. So when you find yourself in that obstacle, trying to figure out which chiropractic school to go to, when you're hearing, go here, don't go here, reach out to those admissions counselors. And that's what I always try to do, is just send them an email and say, hey, here's so-and-so, they're interested. Can you help them out? And they're always so willing. So don't be afraid to ask them those really, really hard questions.
Take it with a grain of salt, I'll just add, because they are sales reps.
Totally.
And so they're going to talk about all the great things about their school. And again, this is why I think comparing and contrasting is so important. So I would just find alumni that have been there and liked it and didn't like it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That was my next thing is, get connected with those admissions counselors and compare and contrast. Don't just go to one because, they'll sell you, because they're promoting their school, right? So get into touch with all of them so you can see, get a feel for all of them. But also talk to doctors who are hiring or will be hiring. Talk to those mentors that you have that you want to go work for and ask them, hey, what kind of doctor are you looking to hire? And then compare what those schools are training those doctors to be, which leads into the alumni. So go look at those alumni and also, really try to find out, does that school have a strong alumni program? Because if they do, that's probably pretty telling of the school, if students are willing to invest back and come back. But if they don't, that's also kind of telling, maybe not in the most positive way. So not only talk to the schools, but talk to the alumni and talk to the doctors that you would want to work for and see what they're looking for as well.
Any other challenges you've come across?
I think sometimes it can be really difficult to figure out all of the details as far as when to apply. And because a lot of schools are on different systems, whether it's quarters or tries.
Yeah.
And so I think, and I don't know the answer to this. This is the hard part, other than just reaching out and asking them, directly, when do I apply and stuff. But I think sometimes a lot of students can't find that information almost, even though it's sometimes on their website, it might be not as clear. And I found myself struggling with that on certain websites. It just wasn't as clear to me as I was hoping it would be. So I had to reach out and ask, hey, okay, if I'm graduating here, would I, when do I apply? That's another huge question, because so many chiropractic schools are just apply anytime. But I'm the kind of person who I want to know, I want structure. I want to know, I need to apply here.
I had a feeling that you were.
Yeah. So, I just get questions all the time from other students that are like, okay, well, like, when do I apply? Because it's not super clear on the website. So I think if schools could be a little more direct when they're marketing to the students and marketing to the schools, oh, you're going to graduate here, at this time, or with our quarter system or with our tri system, you'd need to apply by here. But that also kind of ties into most of the schools are pretty lenient with when you can apply.
I think he found the secret, right? Most of these schools, most chiropractic schools are just dying to get any students to come in. That's why the prereqs are quite low, right? It's a grade average in the science. That's, and then also you'll find that they will waive the application fee. If you just ask them, that's probably enough, right? They want you to come and visit, and then if you apply, they'll waive the fee, all these things. They're just hungry to get more students. It is a business. I mean, I don't want to be cynical, but it is. But I think that's so important. And I've been thinking about like writing an ebook for pre-chiropractic students on like all the steps you need to take. At this point, you might be a better person to do that, but
we'll work together on it.
Sure. Yeah, we could collab on that. So which schools have you visited?
Yeah, so I have visited Parker University and Texas Chiropractic College. And actually, Parker is having their Parker Power Weekend, or one of them, this weekend. And so the society and I are going to go up on tomorrow morning, actually. So that'll be fun. Cool. And then in the fall, we're going to go visit Life as a society. So those are the three schools that the Chiropractic Society mainly works with. Those are the schools I think who recruit the hardest for Texas. At least that's what it seemed like. We've gotten a lot more just response from those schools coming to Texas and whatnot. So those two schools I visited, and then planning to visit Life in the fall.
Cool. So have you picked one yet? Or are you still?
No, I'm still open. I definitely want to be as well-rounded of a doctor as I can. So I'm just keeping my mind open. Even though I do have somewhat of an idea of, the type of doctor I want to become, I'm just trying to be a sponge and learn as much as I can.
Good. Yeah. Schools are also changing all the time. Parker, especially recently, has had a lot of changes.
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't been following much on Texas Chiropractic College. Unfortunately, the original goal before I even did a podcast was I wanted to do video. I wanted to go to each school, and show the campus, do a tour, and talk with a few students. I didn't have the money for that, so podcast is easy.
Yeah. Hey.
But with podcasts, I've been able to do students in different countries. Have you considered going to another, like CMCC up in Canada is a great school, probably hard to get into. I just did a podcast that will come out next week with a new school in Puerto Rico. So the first chiropractic school in the Caribbean, which Puerto Rico is a territory, so you, as a U.S. citizen, you can go. And so have you thought about going international?
I haven't, but that is something that really interests me, is learning more about those schools. A few of the Instagram followers or the Instagram accounts that I'll mention later, I believe they graduated from CMCC and across other schools as well. But no, I haven't even thought about it, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. It's not as common, as with other degrees, right? There's no, foreign exchange or study abroad type thing. But it's an option there. So early on, maybe I want to say episode 4. So I interviewed, Brian Lanou, who's now practicing up in Vancouver, and he went to New Zealand College of Chiropractic. So we talked about on the podcast what that was like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's an option out there. It's not very common. But I just
Yes.
was curious if you had thought about it.
Yeah.
What would maybe the top 2 or 3
Mm-hmm.
criteria for picking a school be, in your opinion?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so number one, I would say that alumni program. That's
Okay.
one of them. Really figuring out, do alumni, people who have graduated from the school support other people going to this school,
Okay. Yeah.
or do they not? So definitely ask about the alumni program. I would also ask about different passing rates as far as boards go. That's something that I want to get better at asking. My mentor, Dr. Coburn, told me, the next time you go and talk to these schools, ask them, see if they know right off the top of their heads, and just really ask them, because that's important. You want to be prepared for boards, obviously. And then I would also just say the culture. And the best way to do that is what we've talked about, going to visit,
Yeah.
talking to alumni, talking to people who've graduated from that school, getting their opinions, and just kind of figuring out where you're at on that philosophical versus, evidence-based scale almost.
Yeah.
That's a big question that I get from a lot of students is, well, this school's on this end and this school's on this end. And, so you've just got to figure out, I think, what you believe about chiropractic and see where that matches up with which school.
I think that's awesome. That, again, one of the big goals of the podcast was to touch on that philosophy versus, evidence-based, or however you want to.
Yes.
I think one of the recent analogies I heard was the two ends of the barbell, which I think is so accurate because they're so heavily weighted on either side. Like you've got Sherman, you've got Life West and Life U, and then on the other side we've got CMCC and University of Western States and Northwest, right? And not much in between. There's a few. But I think I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'm glad that you didn't say location, because while location is certainly a criteria, right?
Yes.
You want to stay close to family, but it should never be the sole criteria or even number one, in my opinion. That's what I think. I mean, get out of town for 3 years. Come on, experience the world. That's cool.
I mean, you're gonna be taking out tons of loans anyway, so you might as well go experience something new, right?
Right, absolutely, yeah. I'm curious what thoughts you have about the whole student loan aspect of it, because that's a big thing that I certainly didn't fully appreciate it before I started school. Have you looked into that, and do you have any plans?
Yeah, so I think once you figure out that number, that $150,000 to $200,000 number, we'll just say it, it can be very intimidating. I don't think anybody is like, oh yeah, that makes me even more excited about going, it can be very intimidating. But personally, I am just so passionate about chiropractic. And something else that I think is important for students to do is to shadow doctors who are also passionate about the field, so that you can see their successes and see that it is possible to be a successful chiropractor. I think sometimes, we can either get around certain people, whether they're chiropractors or not, who can talk down about the profession and, or talk down about where it's headed, but look how far we've come, So I think it's important to just surround yourself with people who are passionate about it and who are successful and who are moving forward and growing in the profession, so that you can see visually, okay, this is a possibility for me to be able to make the money to pay off the loans.
Right. That's awesome. 2 great resources early. I think it was episode 7. I interviewed Dr. Laura Cook, who paid off her student loans in, I think it was 2 years flat.
Wow.
And so she wrote an ebook on how she did that.
I'll be reading that.
And listen to that interview. You can find more interviews with her. And then recently, another podcast, Chiro Business Mojo.
Yes.
Who we're trying to find a time to get together and have them on the podcast. But they, Haley, the wife in the pair, it's a husband-wife chiropractic couple, just put out a free ebook on how she minimized her student loans.
Awesome.
And so I'll throw a link to that in the show notes.
Please do.
Yeah, for students to take a look at, because It sneaks up on you, like just little things of having a coffee a couple times a day at the student cafe,
Yeah,
which is like $4 or $5. You've got to be kidding me. It's
I
worse
know.
than Starbucks. And then going out and having a few beers on the weekend, like
Yeah.
just those little things really add up, especially when you take into account the compound interest over a
Yes.
20-year loan.
Hmm.
It's crazy. I mean, when
Yeah.
I really started to have some heart palpitations, was kind of in my last few quarters when
Hmm.
the federal loan servicing company would
Hmm.
send you an email about once a quarter and say, by the way, you're accruing $40 a day in interest.
My goodness. Oh man,
So
that's
certainly something to
encouraging.
be aware of. Okay, let's get
Yes.
off. Let's get off the medical orders. So so again, you're doing a great job on social media, on
Thank you.
Instagram. What are a few tips that you have for students, whether they're in
Mhm.
chiropractic school or even doctors who may not know how to use social media well?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another great question. My biggest piece of advice, especially if you're looking to kind of venture out into creating a new platform, because I
Mm-hmm.
have my personal account and then this is my separate account.
Well, like we mentioned,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, so especially if you're looking to do something like that, the biggest piece of advice that my sister gave me was plan. Plan your posts ahead. Figure out
Mm-hmm.
what your vision is for the account. Think about how you want your posts to sound, how your posts want to look. Really figure out the goals of your account so that way you're just more prepared in general. So, to me, I was thinking, okay, so, my first two posts are going to be this and this. And she was like, okay, so what are your posts going to be the month after that? And what
Mm-hmm.
about, the month after that? She was really pushing me to think outside, think in the future about what those posts are going to be because it depends on what you want your account to do,
Mm-hmm.
how fast you want it to grow and things like that. And personally, I try to post every single day. I miss a few weeks sometimes. I'll miss a day here and there, but for the most part, I post every day. So, as a student and I have a job now, it can be hard. So really finding the time to plan that out is crucial depending on how fast you want, your account to grow. But as far as specific things, I personally love the app Canva. It's also a website. Canva is great for creating the content, like posts that I do that are really chiropractic focused. So they don't really have necessarily a picture associated with them. It's more words and
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds. That's great, because you can really get creative and really show off kind of what you had envisioned for your account that hopefully you thought of, before you
Mm-hmm.
created it. And then I edit my pictures with VSCO. So that's another great app. It's super easy if
I have
you're,
heard of that one, yeah.
yeah, if it has tons of free options on there and whatnot. So I really like that app. It's really simple, and you'll learn to kind of figure out what certain edits you want to make your pictures. So if you want your account to be, a certain aesthetic, you can kind of play with that and kind of edit your pictures the same every time. But those are my biggest pieces of advice is just really to plan ahead
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what apps you like and what you don't like. And I mentioned this previously, but find a mentor or somebody who's willing to edit some of your posts for you.
I like that. It's all about
Mhm.
consistency, right? I'm learning
Yes.
that because I had a nice long hiatus with this podcast. I'm like, if I want it to grow, I've got to do every week. Consistency with timing and posting, but also with the aesthetics, right? The
Right.
way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very
Right.
cool. Now, why Instagram? Just briefly, I mean, there's Facebook, there's
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, there's Snapchat, there's TikTok, there's YouTube is now really more of a social platform.
Yes, it really is. So personally, Instagram is just my favorite app because I'm a very visual person. I like pictures and videos. In high school, I was on the yearbook committee, so I've always enjoyed taking pictures and whatnot and capturing memories through picture form. And yeah, I just thought Instagram, I was most familiar with it from my personal account. It was the app that I spent the most time on.
Mm-hmm.
Probably should have been studying a little more, but I was just the most familiar with it and thought that I could bring for my vision of this brand, if you want to call it. I thought that Instagram would have the best platform for me to build off of.
Very cool. Well, I want to get to our tick picks.
Yeah,
So
let's do it.
these are recommendations for chiropractic students or pre-chiropractic students on something online to follow, a book to read, a video to watch, technique to do. So what have you got for us?
Yeah, so I kind of have a really general one, and then I have some specific Instagram accounts that I personally follow and love to follow. So the first general one is shadowing. The biggest thing I can encourage students to do, whether you're pre-graduate school or even if you're an engineering student, is to shadow those who you want to become. And even maybe people you've never met before in the field, but just get out in the field and let them remind you of why you're doing this, which we touched on before as well. It can be really hard spending hours and hours a day studying, one part of the body. I'm sure you can relate to that, but, really finding the time to surround yourself with people who are going to remind you of that why and spark that joy is crucial. I'm super grateful because I just got a part-time job with Cadenhead Chiropractic. And so I now actually literally have, time scheduled in to spark that joy. And I'm super excited about that and grateful for the opportunity to interact with patients and see patients get well. Because like I said, my why is wellness. And I love seeing other people experience wellness through chiropractic adjustments as well. So that's my first one.
Okay,
and
do it a lot.
Yeah, do it a lot, and don't be afraid to get out there. A lot of students come to me and they're like, okay, well, where do I go? What do I say? And you gotta take accountability. You need to take some responsibility and just call an office, walk into an office. I've never met a chiropractor that wasn't open to that. And that's what I love about the profession is that chiropractors seem to just be so willing to invest in students, especially pre-chiropractic students who are showing an interest at an early age. So don't be intimidated. Right?
They like to show off. Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
I think it'd be really interesting if you, not now, but if you could put together kind of some tips on how to approach and then what to do while you're there. Like for me, it's awkward to just stand there in the corner for an hour, however long. But I certainly echo that. And shadow variety, right? Like shadow a philosophy-oriented doctor, shadow one that does sports, shadow one that does pregnancy, shadow a PT, shadow an MD, shadow a physiatrist or an osteopathic doctor. Just get variety to really, again, compare and contrast.
Yes, amen. I'm with you.
Okay, you've got some social media accounts to share.
I do. So kind of in regards to the same thing with shadowing, surrounding yourself with those people, you can also do that through social media platforms, especially if you're on Instagram a lot like I am. So really immersing yourself in that language, especially if, I meet a lot of students who are PT and then they're kind of interested in chiropractic, but it's kind of this new language and new verbiage and whatnot. And so really following people who are constantly and consistently posting about those types of things, whether it's research or a day in the life or school, because some of these people are, still in chiropractic school. You're getting exposed to that new language, this new world, and that's only going to make you more educated and informed. So I'm going to share a few. Some of these are in chiropractic school. Some of these are chiropractors. So this is a wide range of men and women who are just doing a great job.
I'm going to see if I can share my screen so we can look at this. Just one
let's do it.
Let's see. Hey, here we go. Go ahead. All right. I think I've got it in the right order.
Okay, awesome. So the first one I have is Future Dr. Croft.
Okay.
Future, he is he's in chiropractic school, and I love following him because he posts a lot of tips and tricks on exercise related therapies and whatnot. And you just get to kind of see a chiropractic student really passionate about educating their patients already, their future patients already, and that's fun.
Very cool.
Southern Chiro at Southern_Chiro is, she's a chiropractor and I just really like her feed. I like the pictures she posts. She's really honest and I enjoy following her.
Very Instagrammy.
Yes. And then at the Chiropractic Guru is so honest. She's also a chiropractor. I believe she practices in Canada. I could be wrong about that. Or no, she's in Texas now. I'm sorry. She's in Texas now, I believe. But she is super fun. We've gotten to chat and get to know each other a little bit. And, I love the way she interacts with her followers.
Cool.
And then Dr. Lumberjack, not
that.
Lumbar. Dr. Lumberjack and Dr. Mackenzie Goss are actually siblings. And Dr. Lumberjack is actually, a recent LifeU grad. So it'll be really interesting to follow along with him since graduating. And then
let's take a look at Mackenzie here.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So they're siblings.
Yes, and they I believe are at the same practice. It's a family clinic, like their family's clinic. Goss Chiropractic, I believe.
Okay. Yep.
And then two more, Stephen Gage. Stephen Gage is a current student at Life University, and he's on fire for chiropractic. And so if I'm ever not in a clinic shadowing, I know where to go because he is always on fire for chiropractic, which is always fun to listen to.
And he's got a good YouTube channel where he,
yes.
Again, like I kind of mentioned in my podcast a few episodes ago, documenting his experience going through the program.
Yes. And then the last one is Dr. Jason, who also has a YouTube channel. And he posts a lot of videos on his Instagram account, which is fun. He posts a lot about him actually showing him adjusting patients, which I find really interesting and fun to watch.
Yeah. So are you following, just thinking of some other big YouTubers, are you following Kairos or Adjusting Ninjas?
No, but okay. I haven't gotten into the YouTube world of chiropractic yet, and I am really, really wanting to. So I'll have to get some names from you.
All right. Well, just a few. I mean, there's obviously the Ring Dinger, who's your Austin chiropractor. There's Adjusting Ninjas or the Kairos Training. I don't know what the YouTube channel is called. There's a bunch of others. I'll throw some in the show notes.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch adjusting videos. Yeah. Kind of follows
especially
the whole
if you
ASMR trend, which I talked about in my podcast coming out this Friday. So keep an eye for that. What were you going to say though?
Just especially if you've never been to a chiropractor and you don't know what to expect. I had posted a time-lapse video of me getting adjusted a few weeks ago, maybe last week. And I got a lot of feedback on thank you for posting this because I never knew what to expect going to a chiropractor. And now that makes me feel more comfortable to go. So, yeah.
Very cool. I'll share a quick one too. I'm going to change what I was going to talk about based on some things we've said. So the Spark type is something I came across. It's one of those personality tests. You've got the Myers-Briggs, you've got Enneagram is so big right now. And I tend to hate these. I really do because they're so misunderstood. Oftentimes, you do the test and you're like, oh, that means I should be a fireman, right? The Spark type is a little bit different because it's the same. It's the kind of test. You take, these questions. But really, the goal is to discover what this guy, Jonathan Fields, calls the spark type, which is the essential nature of work that fills you with meaning and lets you feel expressed, alive with purpose, and absorbed in flow, or sparked. You kind of mentioned sparking joy. And so I did this, and I think there's like 9 types or maybe 10 or 12. I can't remember. They don't actually list all of them right up front. So I got the Maven with a subtype of the Scientist. So the Maven, what fills you with, or makes you feel fulfilled and fully expressed, is to learn. And so I thought this might be interesting for you too. And it, even though I hate these types of personality tests, I took this one and I got that result and I was like, whoa, wait, that's right. I just love to learn. Like sometimes I just want to be back in school. And then the Scientist, of course, because I'm always looking at research but basically what it shares is like, this is what fulfills you, but it doesn't mean you have to do a certain thing. It just means whatever you do, whatever career you're already in or you're going in, focus on that aspect of it to feel fulfilled. And then oftentimes the subtype allows you is the thing that allows you to make a living out of it.
Gotcha. So that's interesting.
I'd be curious I've been sharing this with other people to see, what they get. So I'd be curious what you get. But also, any listeners, go take a spark type. It takes like 10 minutes, and then just comment what you got, like what your result was, because it's just really curious to me, like what people come out as. I've given it to a couple friends. One friend who does music videos. He makes music videos. He's a filmmaker and storyteller, and he got a creator. And then his subtype was, I think it was an advocate. And the other thing that he did, he started a nonprofit to tell stories of refugees.
Wow.
So it fits. It fits, right?
That's cool.
And I like that it's not prescriptive. It doesn't say, okay, you have to do this.
I'll try it. I'm going to give it a try.
Cool. Yeah. Tell me what you get. It'd be kind of fun to see. So, Brooks, thank you so much. At destination.dc on Instagram. Everyone should go follow you, learn some secrets about social media from you. I love what you're doing. Really encourage you to continue educating not just pre-chiropractic students, but the public about chiropractic. I think we all need to learn how to do that better. So I'm really glad that you're sharing how to do that. And
thank you.
Other than Instagram, anything else you want people to go see or follow you? Or
No, not really. I mean, that's going to be the account that I think most of your listeners would be most interested in following. So thank you so much, Dr. Cashin, for giving me this opportunity. I hope that I've provided some helpful information for your listeners.
I think you have, and I look forward to continuing to follow you. So thanks.
Awesome.